Tons of action from NFL Week 6 Sunday. The Detroit Lions absolutely blow out the Cowboys, but lose maybe the most important player on their team for the stretch run, and rookie quarterback. Some wins, some losses, but continue to shine. All that and more from Week 6 coming at you right now.
NFL analyst Brian Peacock and former NFL scout Matt Williamson bring you expert NFL analysis every day in less than 30 minutes. Get an inside look at the NFL on the field and in the front office with elite breakdowns to next-level analysis and in-depth information only for the real NFL fans. This is Peacock and Williamson, and it starts now.
Welcome to the Peacock and Williamson NFL show. Brian Peacock alongside Matt Williamson at BD Peacock at Williamson NFL. Thanks everybody for making us your first listen here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. We love and appreciate all of our everydayers out there. And welcome to all the new listeners this season to Peacock and Williamson. Subscribe on YouTube or wherever you are listening to this podcast. Today's episode of Peacock and Williamson brought to you by Prize Picks. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL. Use code, all lowercase, LockedOnNFL to win $50 instantly when you play your first $5. All right. Tons to get into, Matt. Let's start. I want to start with the Detroit Lions because I think this was both the case of the Lions maybe being the hottest team, playing the best ball in the National Football League in Week 6, and really hitting their stride right now with a team like the Dallas Cowboys, who, even though they are 3-3, will also are playing awful football. And you get those two things together. And we talked about this game when we were making our picks last week. We both picked the Lions because of a simple reason, which was absolutely clear in this game, is the Lions are really good at running the ball, and if the Cowboys can't stop the run, then they've got no shot, and they had less of a shot than we even expected. 47-9 Lions over the Cowboys.
Yeah, so Dallas was in town here last week, and I did extensive research on them and thought, man, Dallas is in a rough spot. I mean, they don't have much besides CeeDee Lamb. Their top guys on defense are out. They can't run. They can't stop the run. Steelers have them right where they want them. Well, the Lions are a lot better than the Steelers, and the really good teams are primed to do this to the Cowboys. They're in trouble. I don't know if their playoff hopes are squashed or anything like that, but they are in trouble, and they are not built to beat good teams. Lions might be the best team. I mean, just the rushing discrepancy kind of tells you all you need to know. 184 yards or 53. I mean, that's enough. And they're running trick plays to Penei Sewell at the end of the game and had no love for the Cowboys whatsoever.
No,
but they lost Hutchinson.
That's what kills me with the Lions in this one too, because Hutchinson's the most important player on their defense. And, I mean, quarterbacks aside, maybe one of the most important, maybe the most important player on the entire team, because what that can do if you have a difference-making defensive end and a defensive lineman like Aiden Hutchinson has been for them. And he's done for the year, a gruesome broken leg. And, this is something that they hope and expect he's going to be back and ready to go next year, but not even questioning this year for him being out, but you hope he's 100% by the time next year starts. Is how gruesome that leg injury looked for him, and you absolutely hate that. And it's a huge crushing blow for the Detroit Lions and in their quest for where they want to go. Now they got a lot of talented players, and Brian Burns has been awesome for them on the back end of that defense. And you can go down the list of every position group just about in the offensive line and quarterback play, and the two-headed monsters are running back that are both like, okay, 6-7 yards per carry in this game. You can't stop either one of them. David Montgomery's so good and probably so underappreciated with how good of a player he is. Even though, fantasy owners that own Jahmyr Gibbs and drafted him early might be, upset because he doesn't get 20 carries a game, like other really talented running backs. But it's perfect for the way they run things on offense with the Lions. And they've got Amon-Ra St. Brown, and then they've got speed elements too on offense. So just really the complete package right now for what the Lions are doing. And you hope that the loss of Aiden Hutchinson doesn't hurt their quest for continuing to play the way they're playing. But I heard the locker room speech from Campbell after the game, the head coach, and he's like, yeah, this is I had a feeling this was coming. This is the team I saw last year. This is the team that I believe in, that I know is scary, basically, and probably the last team I want to play in the NFL right now is the Detroit Lions.
Yeah, you mentioned Montgomery. They gave him a contract extension leading up to this game too. Good for him. I mean, he fits their persona so well, and a great thunder and lightning combination. They already have Kaminsky, who's not an edge bender, but Davenport, or both those guys are already on IR at defensive end, and now Hutchinson's out for the year. I honestly think he was probably leading the race for defensive MVP. I mean, he was having that kind of year, took that kind of step forward. As good as they are, they're going to need a pass rush, though, to finish off good teams. Like, you can run teams into the ground, but in the playoffs, when you're up 10 and they're throwing, you're going to need a finisher. You're going to need a closer. I wonder if they could get in the Reddick sweepstakes or start Max Crosby. I mean, could you go get somebody that's a real difference maker? Because I would push my chips in this year if I were them.
Oh, no doubt. And I don't know whoever Hassan Reddick's new agent is, because his agency dropped him. But I mean, they're on the phone right now. They have to be.
Should be.
And from now until, basically they have the rest of the month of October to figure this out and try to get some bodies in there. But if you're the Lions, you got to, because of the team that they've put together, and they got to try to get over the hump that they set for themselves last year in the NFC Championship game.
Real quick, I know the Vikings were off. They and the Chiefs are still the two undefeated teams. Both were off, but this NFC North looks like the best division in the league, and it really is even close.
It's fun. And even Chicago Bears are starting to look like on paper you hope they could be coming into the year. They had the early game in London and whooped up on the Jaguars 35-16. And look out for the 4-2 Chicago Bears. I mean, you can stick a fork in the Jaguars. We already stuck a fork in them a couple weeks ago before they even got their first win. 1-5 Jaguars. Trevor Lawrence looks like a mess. These two teams going in completely opposite directions right now.
They really are. And I wonder if Jacksonville wasn't staying in Europe until next week, maybe Peterson would have got fired. It'd be kind of weird to fire him overseas and you make all those changes. You're not even in your facilities. You know what I mean? Like, I wonder if that saved him for one more week, and they are a mess.
This is good news, Doug. You get a European vacation.
Right. I got to stay here for a month. Right. I actually didn't think Lawrence was terrible in this game compared to what he's been the rest of the year. But man, like every good thing that happened to them, somebody would screw it up. It's like a penalty when you finally convert a 3rd and long or drop a touchdown. I mean, just sabotage. But the Bears are good. The Bears are way ahead of where I expected them to be. The defense is very opportunistic. It's a good defense. It's a plus defense. Williams is settling in. It was a good week overall for rookie quarterbacks, led by Williams. Kmet gets 2. Keenan Allen gets 2. But DeAndre Swift all of a sudden is a thing. I mean, I thought they were kind of crazy to sign him the first day of free agency. And then early on, I'm like, he's the same guy he's always been. But he's really important to them right now.
DeAndre Swift's just a weird player.
He's a strange one, yeah.
Because he goes through stretches like, this guy looks terrible. He doesn't look like a starting NFL running back. And these are stretches like, okay, look at this. This guy's awesome. Let's get him on the fantasy team, 17 carries for 91 yards and a score in this one. But yeah, just seeing some of the throws from and it's tough for rookie NFL quarterbacks, but there were some times should the Bears have drafted Jaden Daniels over Caleb Williams, and in conversations like that, like Caleb Williams is good, and
he's good.
We saw the guy that we hoped, and dropping some dimes, making some throws, and he's gonna have to file off some of those little jagged edges in his game, as any young quarterback should. But like, it's a huge week for these rookie quarterbacks, like you mentioned, and not only Caleb Williams and the 4-2 Chicago Bears beating the Jaguars 35-16, but there was even some really good looking rookie quarterbacks in losses around the NFL. And I think it's important that you don't grade quarterbacks with QB wins, especially when they're rookies, especially on rebuilding teams in some of these cases. But you have a team like the Washington Commanders and rookie Jaden Daniels, who, there was a reason they weren't favored in this game. I believe we had a push on this one because it was a 7-point game, and they ended up losing by 7, 30-23. But even in the loss, you came away impressed with the young Commanders and the young quarterback.
Yeah, I thought there was a chance. Baltimore, tough spot, a defense that doesn't allow any rushing yards, and they didn't in this one either. 52 yards on the ground allowed. That the Commanders as a whole and the rookie quarterback would crash down to earth. Not the case at all. I mean, they hung around with what might be the best team in the league. I mean, we just mentioned the Lions. They might be the best team in the league. Those two undefeated teams are in the mix. I think Baltimore's right there. Lamar might be the MVP again. I mean, he's playing like that. And Derrick Henry, I just posted this. I forget where I read it, but he's on pace for 25.5 touchdowns this year. Like he's been a pretty nice addition. And this offense is going through Zay Flowers through the air. They're starting to figure things out in a big way.
Yeah, I really love the way Derrick Henry's been incorporated the last few weeks, and they're riding that. They're really figuring out how that's going to work all together on offense. And then you get Lamar Jackson running and throwing 323 passing yards in this one. And I think it was a great game plan for them. Like, look, this is going to be an inevitability because of our offense, and the Commanders aren't ready on defense to handle it. So we're just going to we're going to pound them into submission, and they eventually did, even though Commanders were able to keep it close.
Absolutely. I think this was kind of a success for both teams. Tell me the Commanders are 4-2 and leading their division. All right.
And if we were betting on the 4 teams in the AFC and NFC championship games, would it be the 2 unbeatens, Vikings and Chiefs, and then the teams we talked about, the Lions and the Ravens right now?
Vikings are the one I'd hesitate on. I mean, like the Niners could really get hot,
I'll drop my take from Locked On 49ers. Niners, we already covered their win over the Seattle Seahawks. They're 3-3 right now. I got a take comparing some 3-3 teams in the NFL. And we'll get to that next. Talk about some more of these rookie quarterbacks and the rest of the Sunday slate of games from Week 6 in the NFL. Today's episode of Peacock and Williamson is brought to you by Hims. Guys, you ever feel like you need a little boost in the bedroom? It's time to stop worrying about your performance and get Hims, so you can feel confident knowing you can get wherever you need to be, whenever you need to be there, whenever you are in the mood. Hims is changing men's healthcare by providing you with access to affordable sexual health treatments from the comfort of your couch. With hundreds of thousands of trusted subscribers, Hims can help you find the ED option that works for you. No insurance is needed, and one low price covers everything from treatments to ongoing care. Start your free online visit today at hims.com/lockedon. That's Hims, HIMS.com/lockedon for your personalized ED treatment options. Hims.com/lockedon. The products mentioned are chewable, compounded products that are not approved by or verified by for safety of effectiveness by the FDA. Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if applicable and appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan. The next segment of Peacock and Williamson is brought to you by Hillsdale College. And, time is our most precious commodity. So don't waste it scrolling through the same mind-numbing content for hours and hours. How can you spend it wisely and improve yourself? Maybe learn something instead of just scrolling and watching cat videos, whatever it is that you might be doing and wasting your time. Our sponsor, Hillsdale College, is offering more than 40 free, that's right, free online courses, including, how about this one? The rise and the fall of the Roman Republic, Athens and Sparta, if you're into history. How about Winston Churchill and statesmanship, or fine arts, the history of classical music, Pythagoras through Beethoven, and so many more. Hillsdale.edu/courses is where you can find those. And all of Hillsdale courses are self-paced so that you can start whenever and tune in wherever. Plus, you can go deeper with readings, quizzes, discussions, and just maybe enjoy the lectures if that's what you want. So go right now to hillsdale.edu/lockedon to enroll. There's no cost. It's easy to get started. That's hillsdale.edu/lockedon to register. Hillsdale.edu/lockedon. Let's continue talking about some of these rookie quarterbacks.
Before we do, I want to throw one thing out there because we ended the segment with maybe, who could be Final Four type teams. I'm starting to buy into Houston and Green Bay as well. I think they could very much be in the mix when that time comes.
And obviously, Green Bay went through a little hiccup with their quarterback situation. Jordan Love back, and they handled their business there. And I do like what's going on with the Houston Texans. Something just hasn't quite meshed with the Texans quite yet. They could still get there, even though they handled their business this week as well. I would have no problem putting them in the final 6 to 8, but I think I would choose the other 4 based on what I've seen through 6 weeks. If I was betting today. And you mentioned the 49ers as being one of those teams. And I think we've seen a lot of good from them and seen some weirdness from them. But you look at a team that's 3-3 like the Cowboys, and these teams meet in the playoffs a lot recently. Cowboys and 49ers. The Niners 3-3 versus the Cowboys 3-3 couldn't be more different. They're like 75 points apart in their point differential for the season. And one team looks like I'd rather not play them than the other one. And there's some other 3-3 teams in the league where it's like, okay, like, the Eagles, they've already had a bye, so they're 3-2. The Broncos are 3-3. And so not all 3-3 teams right now are created equal. And I think we're going to see a lot of that get hashed out, in the second half of the year here.
100%. Yeah, there's a couple that are sleeping giants a little bit that the ball just didn't bounce their way. And then maybe a team like Denver, they got a couple bounces that did go their way that aren't really in the same neighborhood.
So the Tampa Bay Buccaneers look at the 47 points the Lions put up and chuckle at it because they put up 51 points from the New Orleans Saints in their own house. 51-27 Buccaneers at Saints. 4-2 Bucks now, proven that they can put up some points on offense, and continued into the fourth quarter with 20 more points just to make sure that one didn't get close after a big end of the first half for the Saints. 2-4 Saints now, started 2-0, I believe, right? And now have lost 4 straight. Look like a completely different football team. But the story here that I want to talk about is, and we're not shocked, we both picked the Buccaneers in this game. I don't know if we picked them to win by this much. But rookie quarterback Spencer Rattler got the start with Derek Carr out because of injury. And he wasn't a disaster. He looked okay. And so, look, even in a loss, I think there were some good signs for the Saints with their young quarterback. I don't know if he's quarterback of the future for them, but he didn't fall on his face. That's not what the story of this 51-27 score is.
Yeah, I think, again, I didn't have high hopes, but, I mean, he was sacked 5 times and lost Olave to a concussion, and they didn't run the ball particularly well. I mean, 21 for 81, that's not great. Only 40 from Kamara. And he didn't embarrass himself. I mean, he showed signs. I'm not saying he's going to replace Carr, but I think they might have something there. And I thought that when they drafted him, he's a high pedigree player that dropped a little bit more in the draft than I expected. But Baker Mayfield is playing really, really well this year. And I know he threw three picks, but he's been productive week after week. And I think the story here for the Bucs that could put them knocking on the door of that Final Four neighborhood. I mean, I'm not ready to put them there either, but 277 rushing yards. I mean, they haven't run the ball well for years.
Yeah. I want to go back to the offseason. And if you're a listener and you were the one, remind us, because they thought the loss of Canales going to Carolina as the head coach was actually going to help their offense and their running game.
And running game, yeah, I remember that.
Turned out to be correct. So let us know if you were the listener that told us that about your Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And I think the kind of what we were kind of trying to say about the Carr is, like, if Derek Carr was playing instead of Rattler, it's not like they won this game because of that, because of a different quarterback. Obviously, the Bucs put up 51 points. And I would say, with as good as Baker Mayfield is playing and some of the numbers he's putting up right now, he needs to calm down with getting hit, because he got hit as a ball carrier, came up hurting. He's out in front trying to throw blocks, and I know that's the way he plays, but he needs to be healthy for the rest of this, for the Bucs to go where they want to go this year. And they've got the Atlanta Falcons right there with them at 4-2.
He definitely has a reckless style of play that you're still seeing this year. It endears him to teammates. It makes him, fun to root for and all those things. But sometimes you got to know when to hold them and when to fold them too,
Yeah, absolutely. Let's keep this thing rolling. We mentioned the Packers and Jordan Love a little bit earlier. They handled their business at home against the Arizona Cardinals. Yeah. Another blowout win, 34-13 here. The 4-2 Packers over the 2-4 Cardinals.
I don't like where the Cardinals are at. I mean, Kyler Murray to me seems to be slipping backwards, not forward. They lost Harrison in this game to a concussion. We know the defense is suspect. But Green Bay's showing you that they have a lot. Like Wicks gets hurt and Watson comes back and Dobbs comes back, and they just spread the ball all around, and they'll be fine no matter who's healthy and who isn't. And they just got a lot of dudes, and that kind of applies to their defense too. All those former first-round picks are all contributing. You know what I mean? Like, it's a pretty good group. I think Green Bay's in a nice spot right now.
Yeah, it just depends on the week, and it's really funny because we talk about, they kind of don't have a clear picture at wide receiver. Maybe they need to trade one of those guys, and then Dobbs gets suspended, and then you're like, okay, maybe we need to trade one. But then, one guy gets hurt and another guy comes back, and another guy suspended, another guy comes back. And then, so maybe they just got it right that, they've got Reed, their slot guy, and then they'll figure out the rest. And so Wicks is out now, and then Watson comes back, and him and Dobbs have 3. I've been calling him Dubs for so long. It's Dobbs, right?
I don't know. I try to avoid it.
Well, pre-draft, I remember Dubs is like, it's a great name, Dubs. And then it's like, actually, it's Dobbs. It's like, is it Dubs? It's Dobbs.
I know it's not Dubs. I know it's one of the other two.
But combined 3 touchdowns for them, and we didn't know if they were going to be part of the game plan this week. So really interesting team there. And yeah, like the Cardinals are they don't have enough on defense as we thought. They're kind of becoming the team that we thought they were going to be coming into the year. Work to be done there. Packers handled their business.
I think James Conner got banged up in this one too. Like you wonder if you start like trading guys like that.
Yeah, it was almost as if less of an injury and not really a benching, but like let's see.
I'm not sure exactly how that.
Yeah, that was a strange one. And Conner just hasn't been as effective as a runner. I think he's a yard less or a half yard less per carry than he has been for the Cardinals this year. So I think it was just a change up. Let's just change something up in the second half. But that's definitely a situation to monitor there.
What if you threw him on the Chiefs or something?
I like this. We could probably come up with a little.
The trade list could be great this year, right?
We're gonna have
Max Crosby, the Lions.
I don't think the Raiders are going to do that one. But, somebody to the Lions for sure. And I think Conner could be had if he needed to.
Oh yeah, if Dallas were a little better,
Yeah. How about the Indianapolis Colts, who hang on to beat the Tennessee Titans 20? Actually, they had to come back to beat the Tennessee Titans with 10 fourth quarter points, 20-17 Colts over the Titans.
I think this is a pretty good game, and I'm convinced it's a weird predicament for the Colts. Like winning is great and you want to compete, but it really makes it hard to go to Richardson. And I thought they were going to go to Richardson for this game, but I am convinced Flacco gives you a better chance to win football games right now. Tennessee did nothing through the air. I mean, did you see the stat line or the Ridley situation? Ridley was targeted, I think, 8 times, no catches, and was complaining about not getting the ball enough early. Like, we're throwing you the ball, you're not catching it, dude. But they
2 teams in a row, and look, there were some weird circumstances in Atlanta, but the Jaguars last year kind of told us, it was like, he's not going to be your answer. And the Titans are like, hey, maybe he's our answer. Like,
I never got that either. Yeah,
not going to be your answer.
But the defenses both played pretty well. Spears got hurt. Pollard looks all right. No Taylor in this game.
I think that extra year removed from injury has really helped him out quite a bit.
Yep, 100%. I mean, it's a minor story, but it's sort of fantasy related. I don't think Trey Sermon's good at football. I mean, you watched him with the Niners too, right? I mean, I don't get it.
I think he's, the classic, pretty big time recruit, goes to a big time college, has a really good offensive line and a good team in front of him and looks all right. And then goes to the NFL and can't win by any sort of physical
advantage.
Yeah, he doesn't have those physical advantages they had when he was younger and doesn't really win in other ways. So I think that's what he is. Yeah. I think the really thing that worries, I mean, Will Levis dropped back 27 times and threw for 95 yards.
I know.
3.5 yards per attempt there. You're not even seeing like the really cool stuff we saw last year with Will Levis. So I don't even know what to point to with that. But it was like, oh man, Will Levis, okay, showing us something. Where's those big time throws? Where's those big time plays? It's only the bad and not the fun stuff we saw from last year that had you excited about Will Levis coming into year 2 if you're a Titans fan.
Yeah, it's like a wild horse that got neutered, and you're still not, nothing good about it. Like Rudolph might give them a better chance to win, but what good's that to you? Right. He's not the answer. Yeah,
brought a new coach, new offense. Is that the right offense for Will Levis? Maybe not. And so now, we have to find a quarterback for that offense then.
They're definitely I think they're in the offseason quarterback market without doubt.
Steps on defense, though. So they got that.
He's all right.
Next, let's continue with the rest of our takeaways from Week 6 Sunday. If you're watching football, might as well play along with those folks who are playing football on your TV screen and use our promo code to get $50 instantly when you play $5 at Prize Picks. Prize Picks is daily fantasy sports made easy, and you can now win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks DFS with as little as 4 correct picks. Prize Picks is the best play to get real money sports action. Join over 10 million users and sign up today, but you're not playing against those 10 million users. No. You're playing against just those stat projections. You pick 2 or more players versus their Prize Picks stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. And by the way, sign up today. Get $50 instantly. When you play $5, don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. So go to prizepicks.com or download the app today. Use promo code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. That's promo code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup at Prize Picks. Run your game. All right, let's roll through the rest of the week 6 schedule of games. And we mentioned the Texans and the Patriots a little bit earlier. Another one of those young quarterbacks that in a loss, Drake May getting his first NFL start, 3 touchdown passes, looked okay. And to be honest, looked a lot better than Jacoby Brissett in that same offense. And probably a perfect outcome for both teams involved here. It was a 41-21 Texans win over the Patriots. Texans now 5-1, Patriots 1-5. These seasons are clearly going in opposite directions and have different objectives completely top to bottom for the Texans and Patriots. But if you're a Patriots fan, you came out of this losing the game thinking, all right, we got to see our rookie quarterback, and he didn't look terrible.
And you might end up with the first pick in the draft or top 2 or 3 pick and, traded or whatever, or sign T. Higgins and draft the best offensive lineman or whatever.
Yep.
Their O-line stinks. I was really impressed with May. I loved him coming out. I actually liked him more than Daniels. He's just a playmaker. I think his makeup is great. There will definitely be valleys, but there are also going to be peaks. And the Texans are basically rushing the passer better than any team in the league right now. That edge tandem is nasty. They got a running game going with Mixon back again. Nico being out didn't really hurt them. Tank Dell stepped up in a big way. You're right. This is a dominant play, dominant performance by the Texans. Was exactly what you want to see on the road against a bad team. And the Patriots look like they have a quarterback and keep losing,
I don't know if his opponent as much in this one too, but clearly in the games Mixon has played, he makes a big difference. And obviously, I'm the West Coast chairman of running backs don't matter. They matter a little bit. They don't matter zero. And Joe Mixon seems to matter to their running game quite a bit for the Texans.
Yeah. They're kind of 2 different teams with and without him. And I didn't think he was that great of a move, but whatever. The other guys are just pretty bad.
We've talked about some games like that one and Commanders, Ravens, where, both teams you feel pretty good about the outcome. I felt horrible about the outcome in Browns Eagles. I don't like what I'm seeing on the field from either one of these teams right now. The Browns are a disaster. They're going to get their coach and everybody fired because of how bad Watson's playing, and they can't replace him, or maybe they have to at some point. I don't know what they're going to do to figure this out, but it's affecting their defense as well. And the Eagles don't look much better, but they were still able to come out with the win here at home and improve to 3-2. The 20-16 Eagles still need to figure some things out, even though they're in a pretty good spot in the East.
It's great to get a win, but as bad as Watson is, as bad as that offense is, it's really in contention for worst in the league. I was not impressed with the Eagles. I wasn't impressed with anything about this game, really. The Browns scored. Was it on defense or special teams? I think it was on defense. Other than that, this wouldn't even been competitive, and that Browns defense is hung out to dry at this point. Every article I'm looking at today, like every morning I go to like 10 to 12 different sites that I like, and half of them had something about now's the time you have to bench Watson. You can't do it anymore. I argue that should have been a month ago. He's really a detriment.
By the way, Myles Garrett with the blocked field goal was
that was pretty impressive.
Big play there. Could you trade for Myles Garrett?
Wow. Imagine him on the Lions.
I'm calling for sure.
I'll give you whatever you want.
You have to do something with your $230 million guaranteed quarterback. We'll take some salary off your hands for you and trade you for Myles Garrett.
And I'll give you anything you want. Here's a blank check.
Exactly.
How many firsts do you need?
Come take a look in the pantry. What do you want?
Yeah. And then next year Hutchinson comes back. You put them together.
Oh man. That's frightening. The Chargers defeat the Broncos. Jim Harbaugh. Did you see what the thing was with Jim Harbaugh leaving to the medical
I saw him go off, but the Seal game was going on at the time, so I couldn't concentrate on it.
Yeah, very strange situation there. But he came back on the sideline, had a big smile on his face. J.K. Dobbins.
He looks legit
out there. 20. He's smooth in the hole. This is the J.K. Dobbins. The injuries have derailed his career, but this is a guy that we love so much. Second round player was like, oh man, he's going to be a star in the league, and we're seeing why. He's a really good running back when he can stay healthy. Hopefully, he continues to. And then Kamani Vidal, their rookie, getting involved a little bit. Love the pitch and catch from Herbert to Vidal, a little wheel route out of the backfield, and it was the Chargers who beat up, especially early. It was all 16 of
Yeah.
the Broncos points came late in the fourth quarter there. 23-16 Chargers over the Broncos. Chargers 3-2, Broncos 3-3.
Yeah, like you said, it's 23-0 going in the fourth quarter with a suffocating style of Harbaugh play. This defense, I thought, might be a bit of a mirage for LA, but it's legit. I think it's one of the better ones in the league. Herbert doesn't have to do much, but he's still capable. McConkey absolutely looks like the one, and Dobbins looks like the one, or a running back one behind a good line and a good defense. And Denver, as we mentioned, they're kind of, they won 3 in a row, and they're 3-3, but I don't think anyone pretends they're a contender.
And they're on the bad side of 3-3, not on the good side of 3-3. If we're ranking those 3-3 teams, the Chargers are kind of that team right now. Where like, all right, if the Chargers are going to line up against a bad team, they're going to beat them. Now, they might not beat a lot of good teams. They might not be even a playoff team this year. We'll see how the rest of this goes. They're still, early on in their incubation period here in the Jim Harbaugh era, but they're not going to go just like lose games to bad teams. And I think the Broncos are still a pretty bad team at this point.
Yeah, well said. They'll probably be about 500 and beat the bad teams on the schedule and lose to the Chiefs twice. And,
Steelers feel that way a little bit, and I think that was the outcome here. The Raiders are not a good football team right now. The Steelers kind of leaned on them, especially late. 32-13 was the final. The 4-2 Steelers defeating the 2-4 Raiders in Las Vegas. Maybe that's not enough credit for what the Steelers are, but I guess
no, it's perfect credit. The Raiders are so bad.
Yeah,
that was my biggest takeaway. Is they don't have a quarterback. Trey Tucker's like I said this on a podcast after the game. All they have is Brock Bowers. They have no running game at all. It's like Trey Tucker and receivers I'd never heard of catching balls from O'Connell. I mean, they're a really, really bad football team. Max Crosby's a superstar, but no Wilkins. And the Steelers defense just made big play after big play when they had a lead, and the Raiders were really, really bad.
You get Alexander Madison helping out fantasy owners with a little touchdown, even though he's 2.4 yards per carry in this game. They don't have a lot. They don't have a lot going on.
They had a really nice first drive, and then after that, it was nothing. And then a little bit of garbage time production.
Based on Max Crosby's comments, if he's bought into the Raiders, you can't trade him. But man,
I'd tough one to buy into.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to get that. You need to have something to build on top of, though, if you're the Raiders as well.
I know, and I'm not sure exactly where that is.
It might be one player at this point,
right? Because Adams isn't going to be there much longer. Bowers and Crosby.
Yeah, those are the pieces. There's some other good players, decent players on the team. They're not completely bare, but in the important places, they just clearly don't have enough. Mm-hmm. The Atlanta Falcons are getting hot, defeating the Carolina Panthers 38-20 in this game. Bijan got in the end zone, but guess what? Tyler Algier outperformed him.
Going away.
Yardage, 18 carries for Algier, 105 yards and a touchdown. I love that Algier is not going away. Really good player too. Just those backfields that are frustrating fantasy owners tickle me just because of how funny they are and how little fantasy football I play now compared to how much I used to play and how much that would have frustrated me. And I see the frustration from other people. I'm like, man, I'm glad I don't have to worry about those problems. I've got my one fantasy team, and I've got Christian McCaffrey that hasn't played at all yet for me. So that's how that season's going. But anyway, 38-20, Falcons win over the Panthers.
Does this kind of feel like Texans Patriots, where both teams kind of win? Like Patriots or Panthers weren't terrible in this game. They didn't get totally dominated. Their offense was adequate or okay, and
I would feel better.
Ball,
I'd feel better if you were developing a young quarterback.
Bryce Young,
right. So it's still, I don't know what to think about the Panthers.
True, that's the difference in the Patriots and Panthers.
You realize the rest of the team's maybe not as bad because you're getting some competent, somewhat quarterback play, even though Dalton did throw a couple interceptions in this game. But yeah, this is just like two different teams in two different classes right now.
Yeah, I think that's a good way of putting it. And Atlanta's taking care of business. I think Atlanta's good.
Yeah, coming together for the Falcons. They're a legitimately good team now.
Yep. I actually think the Giants are kind of a good team.
No. Come on, Matt. That's going too far. 17-7, Bengals over the Giants. The Giants are an awful football team, Matt. What are you talking about?
I think they're easy to bash. They've been so bad lately. But for the first time in a while, I would be a little bit excited if I were them. I actually thought they were the better team on Sunday night. Their D-line is nasty. Burns and Ojulari are making plays all over the place. Lawrence is potentially the best defensive player in the league. They're moving the ball the last couple of weeks, even without Neighbors. I'm sitting there thinking, if they have Neighbors, they might win this game. Daniel Jones could get replaced and you'd be all right. You know what I mean? Like, he's not the worst player in the world. He's running like he's Mike Allstott out there, but I don't think the Bengals, it's a win they had to get, but their defense is still very suspect to me, and I think it's not their year.
It's neither of these teams' years for sure. But
yeah,
the Giants do have, like, if I was building a football team, I would start with the defensive line, and I want all the talent I can find up front. So I like that they've done that. They've just, kind of dragged their feet at quarterback, and that's going to doom them, I think. And they have problems elsewhere. Really cool for them to have a guy like Azeez Ojulari. Like, oh yeah, I forgot we had one of these guys on the shelf. Kayvon Thibodeau goes on to IR, and it's like, let's just plug him in now. So you have him opposite Brian Burns, who's awesome, and Dexter Lawrence, who's been. You mentioned Aiden Hutchinson. Dexter Lawrence might be Defensive Player of the Year right now. I'd say
unbelievable.
Lawrence with Fred Warner, Aiden Hutchinson was in that conversation. There's been a few guys that have been like, these guys are wrecking shop this season. Lawrence has absolutely been that guy, and 4 combined sacks between those 3 players.
Patrick Surtain's another name I'd throw in that list too, but he got hurt in this concussion. Yeah. But it might be a new guy. It might not be Garrett Watt, Bosa. It could be somebody new that gets that Defensive Player of the Year.
Fresh blood, a handful of guys. I think that if they keep up the way they're playing this year and everyone stays healthy, we're gonna have a really fun season with that voting potentially Defensive Player of the Year. But I'm not as optimistic about the Giants as you are. I think they're an awful football team with a few good defensive linemen.
I actually think the O-line's not terrible too. Like, I think that Illuminor and those type of guys are so much better than what they played with last year. I wouldn't mind being in charge of their offseason.
I would rather have the Giants offseason than the Raiders offseason. Put that way.
Oh, that's not even close. Even if the Raiders get the first pick of the draft, I would not even close.
All right, that is the Week 6 Sunday schedule of games. Let us know what you think at BD Peacock, at Williamson NFL. Get your questions in for this week's mailbag. We'll break down the Monday Nighter, Bills Jets, which should be a good one and a pretty telling contest on Monday night. And we got you covered every day here. Make sure you're subscribed on YouTube and everywhere you get your podcast. Matt and I back tomorrow. Peacock and Williamson.